Hello and welcome to Time Mastery. Well, I believe that time is our most precious asset, and I'm also a firm believer in freedom when it comes to our time and our mind. And we are here on this earth to do what we love with the people that we love as much as possible. And I'm here to compress my 26 years of running companies and also having a life of freedom to take all those lessons that I've learned and hopefully pass it on to you, whether if it's inside your business, with your team, as an employee, or just your life in general. And it's in my experience that 50 to 75% of people are easily wasting at least 50% of their time in how they're actually managing everything and how they're running it all, and which is also a source of their overwhelm. And I'm here to do the live Q&As where you can ask us anything and we could be here to add value. So one area I'm jumping into is the question I got is, what's the realistic return on investment when it comes to the time and the money and the overwhelm when we go to implement these things? So I'm going to show you the actual impact when we don't think about the time that it's actually taking, especially the recurring duties that we have in our business with our team and how much it actually adds up. And I'm also going to speak into the bigger level return on investment on what really matters. So here on this top row, I'm really looking at what happens when we could just save 15 minutes per day. When I go to audit a business team or an employee, almost all the time, we're finding 4 to 8 areas on where they're wasting at least 15 minutes a day. Could be in their email. It could be how they're managing all of their inboxes. One thing I see time and time again is a lot of people are managing things in their head, which is a huge time burner, especially in overwhelm. Another area is like they have it outside of the head, but maybe their projects and task management tools a total waste and they just can't keep it together. Or they just don't have a business playbook and they don't have an onboarding system for cross-training employees or getting ready to scale. But let's speak into the actual return on time investment. Like, what are the macro level impacts on your time, your money, your energy, and more importantly, the life that's here? So when we look at 15 minutes per day, per week, that's really about 2 hours. Here, that's about 8 hours a month. And overall, that's at 90 hours a year. Think about that, 90 hours a year. That's 2 vacations. And when we're doing these things in perpetuity that are burning this time, that's actually a lot of the stress and the overwhelm that's happening. So let's say you're a business owner, and I'd like to average a business owner's pay at $50 an hour. That's there. So you'd be burning $12.50 a day, where at the end of the year, that's $4,500. But the big question is, what is the opportunity cost? Like, what can you actually be doing with that 90 hours a year instead of burning it on things that are providing no value? And that opportunity cost, it's back to reinvesting that time that's there. You're normally losing double that pay, at least. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business. You wouldn't be having a business where you pay yourself or someone else money if you aren't making a lot more money on top of what you're paying yourself or that teammate. So that opportunity cost normally comes in at double. You're wasting, as an owner, like $15,000 right there in that opportunity cost. Now, let's say you have an employee, even at $20 an hour. That $5 a day actually equates to about $1,800 a year. Let's round it out to $2,000. But that total opportunity cost, like what could they be reinvesting their time in? Like, hey, that's at least $3,600. And that total opportunity cost is actually coming in at about $5,400. Now, keep in mind, that's only for people who are at $20 an hour. And most teams that I work with, their hourly pay are much more than this, right? And so therefore, the loss that they're losing in that employee time and that money and that actual opportunity cost is much higher. And what's happening right now as we go in this time where more and more people are being laid off and the cost of employees are coming higher and higher, that it's even more important than ever to get these things handled, because when these things are missed, you can cut employee costs fast. You can cut it by like 25 to 50% of the time in under 30 days and actually create a culture that's a lot healthier when you get these things handled. So even if you just had a team of 3 at $20 an hour, only wasting one 15-minute thing a day, that's $16,200. But let's speak into what really matters. Like, what is the actual return on investment when it comes to the mind and our time? And my mentor leaned into this last week inside the Q&A. It's like, when we start to get our business out of the brain, when we get clear tools and clear best practices and routines to keep it together, how do you measure the return on investment when it comes to an idea? How do you measure the return on investment when you have those ideas that never would have come to fruition in the first place? How do you measure the return on investment being able to spend that time doing what you love with the people that you love outside of the business? How do you measure that return on investment when you're having the company culture much more happier? How do you manage the return on investment on your health when you start to save all of that overwhelm that you were burning before? How do you measure the return on investment when it comes to presence and focus? You can't. Like, it's immeasurable. So speaking of that return on investment, yes, there is radical real world numbers that you can measure in the time and the employee costs and the actual reinvestment of that time, the employee costs. Like, it shows up in real numbers. But hey, what about the health? What about your freedom? What about the team? What about the stress? What about the energy? What about the creativity? What about the productivity? And that is the big return on investment that really comes into play. And I want to speak into that. It's also about things like relationships. So there's another level on something that I witnessed in the last 2 weeks is this also impacts relationships outside the business. I had one client who's just on for a few hours, and we didn't go in immersion, and the relationships were speaking into how the person being buried in the business was impacting the relationship. Well, next thing you know, they are now in ending it talks. And there's another person I was talking with who got recommended by just a recent client. And they're having errors of omission. They keep messing up with us. Brad, if you come in and you get their systems and processes handled so that these errors stop, then I'll be able to start to trust them. Well, what happened is we had a few talks with them and we weren't able to get them to proceed. Well, what's happened since then is more hours have popped up more errors have popped up. And I got a call from my recent ex-client, and she's like, those errors are now so bad that it's just popped us. It just cost us tens of thousands more dollars. And now they're at risk of losing us as a client, which is like their number one client. So when we don't invest into systems and processes, we start to lose the relationships that matter in our personal life as well as in our business life. Like, what we lose financially when you don't go invest into these things and you start to notice that these errors are happening and you could easily wrap them up. That's how businesses actually go down, mostly in my experience. When businesses go down because they don't have enough money, like they haven't generated enough revenue, yeah, that's there. But once businesses are up and running and they prove that they can generate sales consistently to different people, my experience is that the number one reason that they're going down is that they don't have clear systems and processes. They don't have the right tools. They don't have the right things together. And next thing you know, it becomes a burden. And they become overwhelmed and buried in this information. People start getting stressed out. People start getting burned out. Employee turnover happens. Unhappy ownership. The emotional ROI for the business and the team just is not there. And when things are in a cadence, like one of the questions I got is, how do you determine what to go efficientize to go systematize first? Well, the answer to this is look at the cadence on how things happen. You want to go look at things that are happening multiple times a day. Maybe you have your morning routine, your midday, and your closing routine, and you're hitting something there. You want to look at those before the things that you're doing once a month or once a quarter, right? You want to look at the things that systematized that are happening daily before the things that are happening weekly and monthly. That's just the best practice. And another point is you want to go do those things that it will provide the most value. Like when you're looking at your weekly things, you might be able to look at one thing to be like, hey, if I just spend a couple hours on this right now, 2 hours once, it will free me up at least another 2 hours per week. So that return on time investment will be massive. So you can take a look at the overall return on time investment when you are actually going to do those things. So in summary, take a look at the cadence, do the more frequent ones first, and then take a look on the actual value on which ones you're going to be approaching. Take a look at my next question here. The opportunity you have like with the system. Okay, in the casters. What does a full system actually look like a full tool set? When you're looking at a full tool set, one is having a team calendar, which what most people have, then have a team project task tool, which half of people have, but there aren't clear agreements on how things are done. There isn't, you got different people doing different things in different ways. So next thing you know, all these errors of omission start to happen with the customers as well as inside the business, and then people get stressed out. So that's another tool, but in my experience, most people are missing the business playbook tool, which is the entire org chart and the organization and those recurring duties of each one of those roles and the systems and the processes and the documentation behind doing those. I see almost all companies missing that. And what's awesome is it's the easiest to fix. The tools are there. There's a couple ones out there. Feel free to ask me which ones they are. I went to go visit one of those companies in Scottsdale. Super powerful. Train you all on what they do. The return on investment is so massive for the team's bottom line and emotional ROI. It's just crazy. And when you get the playbook clear, all of a sudden you're ready to take on new people. Whether if it's someone leaves the business or you're getting ready to scale, which is super important. Next thing you know, the onboarding process, like 80, 90% of that time and energy that it would have taken to onboard someone. Next thing you know, there's a clear set of rules. There's a clear set of agreements. They're trained inside of a system. They're up to date. And all of a sudden they're walking into this environment in this org chart that has the mindset and the strategy to have systems and processes and efficiency at their core, because they know that's what they need in order to have a healthy business inside and outside. And they take it really effing seriously. Like I had one of my recent clients, when they onboarded a couple people, they noticed one person was having resistance to a system and to what they've developed. They were gone just like that. So you got to be able to also check for people that are doing it. The fourth component of a full tool set is your library, like your Google Drive or your Dropbox. In summary, what does the full tool set look like? Calendar, project task tool, business playbook tool, library. But once you have those together, in my experience, the reason why all that hits the fan, the reason why all that doesn't stay together is because people don't have best practices and agreements and routines to keep that full tool set together. They don't have the checkpoints and the checklists so that they're not worried about things falling through the cracks and things like that. Let's take a look at one more comment or question that I might have on the side here. What is the best way to manage projects and tasks when there isn't a team task tool? The best you can do is pick one for yourself. I get asked a lot, what is my favorite ones? If you're standalone as an owner, like if you don't have one, if you're standalone as an owner, or you're a solo entrepreneur, or it's your personal world, my favorite one that I'll still use in tandem with other teams on the side for my personal life is called Todoist, Todoist. Crazy simple. It's online, it's on iOS, it's on Samsung. The interface is simple, it's flexible, it's easy. The little add-ons that they have for dating, I can talk into my other apps and it just captures everything. And it's simple to keep it organized and efficient so that nothing falls through the cracks. So once again, that is Todoist for that. If you ever have any comments, even if this isn't while I'm live, feel free to drop your questions in the comments and we'll always go back to it and answer them for later. Regarding the return on investment that we looked through, if you would like a free x-ray, if you'd like a free audit for your business or your team, we have a form for you to fill out. It only takes like 10 minutes. And what that does is it puts your current mindset and, more importantly, your actually system tools and how you're doing things under the microscope, under the x-ray. So we can find all those things that are costing you 15, 30, even 16 minutes a day. And it's amazing how almost 100% of the time we're finding multiple things. So if you'd love a free audit on that, I'll drop the tool in there for you to do it. And then we'll hop on a call for 15 minutes just for the sole purpose of supporting you in discovering what solutions might be there and what ones you could have to actually go fix these things. Once again, I'm Brad Taleppo. I'm here with Time Mastery. And my one goal here is to free up massive amounts of time for you and the mental energy and how you're running things so that you can actually have the time freedom and presence for what matters most. I hope there's a value. And once again, ask us anything at any time. Thank you.